Hello and welcome to another First Descendant video. Another gun is ready. It is the Greg's Reversed Fate. Now this was a popular gun. I'm a little late onto the scene because I was never really a big fan of this one, but it is still a solid gun. It looks very good, and yeah, people have used this for fighting Colossus from the launch of the game, and now we have other guns, so maybe they don't use it that much. But anyway, let's look at the specs and figure out what is the best build and explain one or two things that are um, a little unique on this gun. Anyway, so first up we have the firearm attack 15,614 base, fire rate 342. This isn't great, this is good, this isn't. Also magazine, again not a lot. Reload time is decent, 1.4. Critical hit rate is 20%. Okay, not terrible, not good. Other tactical rifles like the Secret Garden has 50%. Even some of the purple ones have 30%. So not the highest. Critical hit damage 2 times, very good. Attribute trigger rate 7.14%. I think it's decent. Weak point damage 2 times, also very good. Accuracy, etc. This is all good. So obviously the best things that you want in terms of the rolls on the gun: firearm attack, transfer magazine can be okay, critical hit rate, critical hit damage, weak point damage, status, additional damage against Colossus. You want these things. And what I got is, I'm pretty happy with this. I got firearm attack in purple, which is 11.7, but we are almost at the top end, so I did not want to, spend more fine adjustment axes. We are almost there in terms of as much as we can get out of this. Critical hit rate, critical hit damage, weak point damage. I'm satisfied. Very decent rolls here. Now, unique ability. This has quite a few things going on. Seems simple enough. So basically, when you hit an enemy, it procs bombardment on their location. 7 bombardments happen in a 5-meter radius, and you do additional damage from the bombardments. It says 100%, but it depends on the type of hit that you do. So whether you do a normal hit or a critical hit or a weak point hit or a critical weak point hit, so the damage will scale based on that. Okay. Now when the bombardment happens, it will burn the enemy. That is the status effect from the unique ability, and the burning enemy will take 20% damage more. This 20% was kind of tricky to find for me. I'll try and show it to you. So first we have, let me see, level 100 vulgars as usual, level 100 order of truth. Okay. So first I'm using a blank setting to show you that 20%, because I actually spent a lot of time trying to search for it because I couldn't see it. So we are getting 19,184. Keep that number. So we'll get 20% of that, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see 3836. 3836. So 3836 is 20% of 19,184. Unless I'm completely mistaken, that seems to be the 20%. Anyway, just a side note, not that important. Now let's get back to the build. So now let's look at the unique ability, and for that I'll put my full build so that you can see the different numbers. I'll show you the build in detail very soon. I just want to show you the how the unique ability works. So let's get more people in, because it's a 5-meter radius. We want to see. 9 will be too much, maybe. Let's try 5. Because there'll be too many numbers flying on screen and you'll miss the important. So first what I'll do is I'll just shoot at the body and we'll see if it triggers the bombardment. Now look at the numbers here. 38 was the biggest number I saw. 43, 43. Okay. Now this was based off a normal hit. What I'll try and do is I'll try and hit the weak point now, basically head. Now this one you can see 124 was the bigger number. See if we can get like a crit. Now 550 on this occasion, if you saw. 140 this time. So you're seeing different numbers from the bombardment. This is all based on what hit is triggering the bombardment. So the best would be obviously critical weak point hit. So because we have end zone, let's try and see if we can do that. 597, 597. Okay. 670 this time. So you can see how much more damage we can do if we get a crit, and if we proc the bombardment on a critical weak point hit. So basically that's how the bombardment works. So you should probably consider shooting at the weak point on the head and use a descendant like Enzo to increase the critical. That way you'll do more damage. So if you are fighting the Colossus, use Enzo, use the abilities, hit the weak point, you'll do more damage. The procs, the bombardments I mean, will do a lot more damage. So important point to consider. So like, don't blindly just shoot with any descendant. You'll get the most benefit from someone like Enzo with a higher crit rate and increase the crit damage, increase the weak point damage. So basically this will help you understand the build, because we are trying to add more weak point, more crit damage, and things like that. Okay, so now let's explain the build. Should be easy to understand. There's one other thing that I'll go over. So what we have is, let me just remove this before anybody thinks something else. So rifling reinforcement, action reaction, so standard firearm attack increase mods, concentration priority, concentration, better concentration. So concentration priority with the special rounds does not go as high as it does with the general rounds. So it will go at maximum 47% here. With general rounds it goes to 120%. So we'll not have a huge increase in the critical hit damage. Then we have fire rate up, better insight to increase the hit rate, weak point to do some weak point damage. I have a expand weapon charge, another mod to increase the ammo. This gives us 14 more bullets. You can swap this out for something that gives you more critical hit damage, more weak point, things like that. I think the popular one would be focus fire. I think focus. Yeah, so this will give you weak point damage and hit damage. So if you level it up, I need to put another catalyst to get that. But yeah, you can do this instead of the ammo increase. Now, the other thing here is if you put an element, like for example, we are doing damage with burn from the bombardment. Okay, so that is triggering the status burn on the enemy, and when the enemy is burning, you'll do more damage with fire conductor. Now you can put another element mod here. You can put, let's say, another fire mod. Now what this will do is it'll trigger the burn status 2 times, but it will not increase the damage. It doesn't stack. Okay, so let me just show you how that works. So I'll shoot him here. You'll see two stacks of 2 burn statuses, but the damage will not go up. Okay, so that 26%, you'll get that 26%. I suppose the only benefit of having two of the same elements would be the statuses will have different times when they trigger, so you'll get a little more time to do that 26% more damage, if that makes sense. So 2 of them. So one status of burn is from the bombardment, other status of burn is from the gun itself, the enhancement mod. You can also just as easily use a different element. So instead of fire, you can put electric, for example. So you'll have 2 different effects on the same statuses on the same enemy. So you can see here, electrocution and burn at the same time. So the element will add another 30% damage to the damage itself. So whatever the number here is, 31961, you'll get a 30% in the form of the element over here. So there's no harm in doing that. Fire would mean this would also come into play, but again, it's not stacking. So you can use fire. Like I said, it'll just have more opportunity for the burn status. So this will have a little more time to act on it. With the other elements, they'll act on their own thing based on the attribute here. So you won't have electric equivalent of this electric conductor or whatever. But yeah, so you could either go with 2 fire ones if you want, or you can use a different element. Now by default, this slot here, this comes with a rutile slot. I have put in quite a few extra catalysts. So This comes with a root tile, so you could go with toxic and save a few catalysts, and don't be like me and waste a lot of catalysts. So you'll have poison and burn at the same time. So we got the poison, you can see poison and burn at the same time. Poison will have like some ticks, as you can see, dot damage, so this could actually be pretty good as well. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. But yeah, you can put anything. I don't see any downside as such with any of them. Even 2 fire mods, I don't really see much of a downside, because you have the fire conductor. It will act on this and it will act on the unique ability. If they trigger at different times, basically, then you'll benefit. If they're triggering at the exact same time, it won't make much difference. But that is basically the build. Like I said, instead of this, you can add focus fire to increase the stuff a bit more. If we see the final numbers, 31961, this is the firearm attack. Fire rate goes up a little bit with the fire rate mod. Rounds per magazine goes up a little bit as well, 44 with the blue expand weapon charge mod. Critical hit rate is about 30%, which is pretty much what you can do, maybe a little more with 1 or 2 mods. This will also go up a little bit based on the mods, but it won't really go much higher. So yeah, and the weak point is 2.93. This can go a little higher if you put another weak point type of mod like the focus fire thing, but again, not a huge improvement as such. What you can do is go with Enzo, so that you're basically critting more. And so when you're critting and the bombardment procs, you'll see bigger numbers. You can see we saw 686 over there. That was lame. 668, I see 668. So that's basically how this gun works. The unique ability is kind of the star of the show here, the bombardment. But on its own, without, if let's say you are not using it with a specific descendant like Enzo here, purely the normal gun itself, I think, is probably not as good. Like the Secret Garden is much better. So like I said, the main thing with this gun is the unique ability. Make sure to hit the weak point, trigger the crits as much as possible, and when that procs the bombardment, you'll do the most damage. But yeah, not a bad gun, pretty good. You can also, like I said, get the Colossus roll on one of these instead, so you can use it there. But weak point Colossus, I think, works out kind of the same. So yeah, that is the build. Let me show that to you again. With this final mod, like I said, if you want to save on the catalyst, go with the toxic. But if you want, you can go with 2 fire elements as well. So yeah, that's it. That's the build for the Greg's Reverse Fate. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching as always, and see you next time.